what is EMDR? EMDR stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It's a mouthful, it's kind of hard to say. EMDR is becoming a more and more popular frontline trauma treatment tool and a general psychotherapy tool. It's very effective. That's why it's usually the first thing that's recommended for PTSD, although there are other forms of treatment it can be combined with and be shown to be very effective. It is shown even in brain scans, the movement and the change in the activity of, say, the brain centers like the amygdala that are responsible for the fear response. If someone is experiencing hypervigilance, that is generally a trauma response. If someone is overactive and highly anxious and very, very cautious about their surroundings in a way that isn't proportional to the threat in the environment, for example. A lot of us carry a lot of weight and baggage and consider it normal and just keep pushing on because of many reasons. It's very personal for each person, but sometimes that is just how we are able to cope with the daily demands of life. But that can accumulate and build up, and that can really narrow our window of functioning. And how I have seen EMDR be really effective in helping people feel lighter, more present, change their perspective on past traumas and difficult experiences and integrate them in a healthy way through EMDR is by how it desensitizes the memories, associations, and it unlayers into different even memories and forms these attachments and realizations that on a conscious level we might not have been able to see. And that's one of my favorite parts with clients, is the unlayering process of what was outwardly perhaps anger towards this person was actually an unlayering to reveal it was completely related to somebody else or another memory that was sitting underneath it. It's our mind works in very mysterious ways. 95% of our minds, or we are operating from the subconscious, which is saying that we operate only 5% on a conscious level every day. Now this is getting a little bit off topic. Back to EMDR, and how it works is that through the bilateral, which is meaning both sides of our body, this bilateral stimulation, which can be done through all the senses. It can be visual, which is following whether it's a finger or a light or a ball on a computer screen, for example. It can be auditory if a practitioner has headphones and there's pinging noises. It can be kinesthetic and tactile, whether it's through tapping, for example. It's this bilateral, using both hemispheres of our brain, which makes the traumatic or activating material that is circulating in the brain and body become unstuck. So by engaging in both sides of our body, it somehow loosens up that memory or sensations or anything attached to it, as long as you keep that memory and everything related to it front of the mind while you're doing the bilateral stimulation. And after many rounds of this, the client will realize how much has lifted and shifted, and the memory can also start to feel quite far away. That's very common in EMDR, which is why during judicial trials, EMDR is generally not recommended, because the person who's testifying can experience a very blurry memory and might not be able to call details as well. I've personally experienced EMDR and the power of it, which is why I learned EMDR to integrate it into my practice, because it firsthand was the biggest game changer for me after trying so many different types of therapies, whether it was alternative or the more traditional forms of psychology. EMDR really, really changed the game personally for me. And I also experienced the blurring of memories and how distant and far out of reach these memories became when it was something that had consumed me for years, that I was carrying it in one session and a few sessions. It lightened a lot. But it's also important to consider that EMDR is generally recommended for PTSD because it's more of an acute trauma treatment. For themes like C-PTSD, for example, C-PTSD is complex trauma, which is a situation where abuse was repeated many times. For these sorts of things that become themes of, say, betrayal or isolation and aloneness and relational trauma, for example, there can be a lot that's underneath there that, say, 6 EMDR sessions may not have as much of an impact as if somebody was, for example, in an earthquake or in a car crash and it was one event. It's much more effective for that sort of treatment. However, I personally suffer from CPTSD, and it really helped me lift so much, unlayer so much from my life, personally speaking. I might do another video in the future about my experience with EMDR, but for the purpose of this video, I just wanted to keep it mainly about how EMDR works, the mechanism behind it, what it's good for in terms of acute PTSD, and if there was anything that you feel like you would have liked a little bit more clarity around or have more questions about, please comment below. Please like and subscribe if you resonated with this video or me, and yeah, hope to see you guys again soon. Take care. Bye.